Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about lipedema. What is lipedema? What are the causes, the symptoms, what does it look like, and what are the long-term effects of this disease if you don't get it treated? If you see me looking down, it's just because I have a ton of notes that I'm going off of to make sure that I give you guys all of the information needed. Also, just a disclaimer, I am not going to pretend like I know everything about this and I understand it completely, because I just found out not too long ago myself. This is purely just for information. So let's jump right in and get started. So first, I'm just going to read the definition of lipedema when you search it on the internet. So it says, lipedema is a condition that causes excess fat to accumulate in the lower parts of the body. Most often involves the buttocks, thighs, and calves. The upper arms can also be affected. The condition doesn't affect hands or feet. This is also a progressive disease. So that definition isn't necessarily bad. I just don't prefer to call it fat because it's more of a tissue. So this tissue is very thick and is oftentimes very painful. I know there are certain areas that definitely are for me. It's kind of like a nodular, lumpy, thick fat. Has like a mattress-like appearance, or like a lumpy cottage cheese looking appearance to it. Oftentimes, the way it looks like to me anyways, is like just a lot of cellulite, and what people would just think is a lot of cellulite. I'm going to insert a picture here now that kind of shows you what that appearance looks like on the skin for the legs and the arms. So now I'm just going to share some facts about lipedema and kind of the information that we do know about it so far. So this tissue does not typically respond to diet and exercise. So I know for me, it was after massive weight loss that I realized that something else was going on here. So although being overweight and obese is kind of a comorbidity of lipedema, you do not have to be overweight or live an unhealthy lifestyle to have lipedema. There are a ton of women who have lipedema that, you know, they work out every day, they're eating healthy, they are very small framed, the rest of their body is extremely small except for their lower half of their body or their arms. However, when you are overweight or obese, it can be extremely hard to get the diagnosis, because I know, at least for me growing up, granted there wasn't a ton of research on lipedema at this point, I was just told I was overweight and I needed to lose weight, even though obviously I had a disease. It is believed that up to 11% of women have lipedema, and most of them are not even aware that they do have lipedema. This is because it is such an unrecognized disease in the medical community and with insurance providers. So, like I said previously, most people are just told that they're just overweight or they're misdiagnosed with lymphedema, which is not the same thing at all. So this causes most women to walk around completely unaware that they have lipedema. Lipedema is also bilateral, so you're gonna have this tissue on both sides of your body. If you have it in your legs or your hips, on one side it should be pretty much the same on the other. Otherwise you might be looking at a different condition. We do know that there's a genetic component to this condition. So even though there hasn't been a lot of research like in the past for this disease, a lot of people can go back and look at their mother or their grandmother and see that they also had these types of legs or this type of arms. So there is that genetic component to this as well. Hormones are the main cause for the onset of lipedema. So when your body is going through major hormonal changes is when this can really start progressing with it as well. So when you start puberty, when you get pregnant, menopause, life stresses, hormonal imbalances, things like that can cause this disease to continue to progress or start this disease. So there are 4 different stages of lipedema, obviously going from stage 1 to stage 4, 1 being minimal, stage 4 being really, really bad. So when you reach stage 3 to 4, that's typically when a lot more long-term health issues can occur. And these things are things that are not typically just going to go away, even if you do get treatment during those stages. They might improve, but they're a lot harder to get rid of. And I will talk about what those long-term effects are at the end of this video. So with those 4 different stages, there are, I believe, 5 different types of lipedema, which essentially is just where that lipedema tissue is located on your body. So different types, like if it's just on your arms, or if it's just on your thighs, or maybe it's from your thighs to your ankles, etc. I will put a picture of the different stages and types in this area of the video, and that is something that, you know, when you go to get a diagnosis, they will tell you which stage and type of lipedema that you have. A few other things that I've kind of learned recently through watching seminars is that there are a couple of other conditions that kind of go with lipedema. You don't always have to have these things together, but I guess it is pretty common for women with lipedema to also have hypermobility in their joints. There's also been a connection with metabolic disease and thyroid issues, which I do personally have thyroid issues, and the hypermobility piece to this as well. So there is always new research coming out, new information, trying to put the pieces together and understand this disease just a little bit more, because there's just not enough on it right now. So now I'm just going to go over signs and symptoms, and these are not all of them, but there's still a ton. So those would be like your lower body is unproportionate to the upper part of your body. That's what was very noticeable to me. And it could be your arms being unproportionate to, you know, the upper part of your body as well. Most women with lipedema also get bruises very easily. And the areas where it's at can be really sensitive to the touch. So for me, like, it's very sensitive on the outsides of my arms, the outsides of my thighs, and my calves. Like we talked about earlier, it is a nodular, lumpy type of fat, so could look like a lot of cellulite on your legs. Fat pads on your knees, your elbows, not really being able to see the shape of your calves or the muscles in your limbs. You also can have cuffing at the ankles and in your wrists. So essentially you're like really big all the way up until that ankle, and then your feet are unaffected and your hands are unaffected. You may also have spongy and cool skin. You may have some small varicose veins or spider veins. pain in the joints, and I know for me, my arms and my legs feel extremely heavy. So now let's get into the long-term effects of lipedema if it goes untreated. You can get something called lipolymphedema, which means that you have lipedema and then in the later stages develop lymphedema, which is a lot of excess fluid, and it's like a major disruption in the lymphatic system that does not go away even after you get that treated. Well, you get the lipedema treated, I mean. You can also develop hypertension, diabetes, heart failure, severe joint problems, even in your lower spine. Of course, becoming immobile because your legs are so large that it is impossible to walk, or it is just so extremely painful. And of course, along with that is just constant extreme pain in your limbs. And with all of this can cause, a low quality of life, which can cause severe mental health issues, and eating disorders due to, feeling like you're just fat when you're not. Of course, there are definitely more of those issues that can come up, more that I haven't mentioned, but there's so much that I would be talking for an eternity. With that being said, this is the end of this video. If you found this helpful and if you would like to see more content like this, please like and subscribe or share with somebody that you think might benefit from this video. In the next video, I will be talking about all of the different treatment options to help with your lipedema or to hopefully majorly reduce your lipedema. And later this week, I plan on making a video about my story and how I found out about lipedema and how I got my diagnosis and the steps that I'm taking right now. So like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.